What is up, everyone? This is the GoatCast podcast on YouTube. Shockingly, I'm not on my regular page, but if you're watching this live, do check out the actual page where I do my podcast, and that is in the, if you could look over to your side, at GoatCast Podcast YT. That's my YouTube channel for the podcast. I know I was supposed to podcast last night. Unfortunately, I had to prepare for a trip for work. I'm here at a conference. I'm in a hotel room right now. But I had to prepare for that. And I wanted to enjoy the opening night games. So I said, you know what, I will push it back a day. And that's where we are right now. So if you're watching this live right now, if you're watching this on the YouTube exclusive channel for my podcast, I appreciate you. Thank you. And the NBA season's back. We're back, guys. This is what we've been waiting for. This is, what we've been waiting for. So, if you watched last night, we saw the Denver Nuggets on ring night take down the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James in season 21. This is his 21st season. He is 38 years old. Will be 39 this year. And his Lakers, his new and what some want to say improved Lakers, were in action last night. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. They had a pretty back and forth game, a pretty good game, all things considered, last night. And we're going to do the normal. We're just going to talk about what's going on in the NBA right now. We're going to talk about my highest viewed short of the week, which will be a pretty interesting one. It kind of coincides with some of the stuff that happened last night. Tonight we saw the Boston Celtics squeezed by the New York Knicks in a pretty good game. I noticed that we did see a lot of flop calls. And I don't know how I feel. I think it kind of disrupts the flow of the game when they keep calling these technical fouls, technically, for the flops. But I do think this is what's needed and necessary as far as stopping just guys just falling to the ground constantly and referees having to decide whether they're going to call it. I know my son plays AAU. A lot of them referees do not call that. They say they can't always see the contact, so they don't call a lot of those flops where they just fall down when there's like a inkling of contact. But what can I say? It is a new day and age in the NBA. There's been some rule changes. We found out today that the All-Star game will return to the East versus West format, which I think is a positive. I did like the draft format for the most part at first, but I think that it's a difficult thing to really, it's hard to really get behind that when you don't know what the teams are going to be until actual All-Star night. And I think that the biggest thing that it did draw interest because you had to actually watch to see what teams were drafted and where they were drafted and what players were drafted where. But not everybody wants to watch the All-Star game. And that incentive was cool at first, but now I think we've seen enough of it to where it's time to go back to what really made the All-Star game special. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about opening night and the opening of the season. And we saw the Nuggets continue to be a really positive or really great squad. They had a good night last night. They played the Lakers, who they are 6-0 against in their last 6 games. Of course, we saw them sweep them in the Western Conference Finals. We saw them pretty much beat them up last night. We had some ebbs and flows of the game. We saw, the Lakers, the new look Lakers with a few new additions. Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, who else? And of course, they brought back D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. And they looked about as good as they looked in the playoffs, in the Western Conference Finals, but they looked like a team that just does not have enough to beat the Denver Nuggets. And that's pretty much how it played out. Excuse me. So I thought it was a good game. It felt like Denver kind of controlled the game, but for the most part, Denver relied heavily on their starters, and I think that's going to be a big factor going through the season, is that they are not a very deep team. Whereas the Lakers do have some depth to their team. They played quite a few of their new additions and quite a few of the guys that were coming back from that, Western Conference Finals team. But in the end, just not enough. And LeBron, of course, in season 21 at 38 years old, they have decided to give him a minutes restriction. And with that minutes restriction came them having to rely heavily on Anthony Davis. And that's all you heard today from a lot of sports media was the big talk was on Anthony Davis. Of course, Anthony Davis, if you watched the game last night, looked like every bit of the monster that we've seen in other seasons and even at points last season. But unfortunately, it was a tale of two halves, where in the first half, he looked every bit of the number 10, according to ESPN's NBA rank, the number 10 player in the whole NBA. Scored 17 points, only had one rebound, but you kind of justify that with the way he was playing. They, the Lakers had him out of, not out of position, but he was guarding Jokic, which meant he was at points up high. He was not close to the basket. So, he wasn't in a position to always grab a rebound, but at the same time, he was scoring at a high clip. And like I said, he looked every bit of the top 10 NBA player that ESPN and their experts thought he was. Unfortunately, the second half rolled around and he looked every bit of not the top 10 guy. He didn't score a basket. He was 0 for 6. Only took 6 shots in the second half. So they end up losing, 119 to I think 107. It was a 12-point loss for the Lakers. It seemed like they would kind of get back in the game, but it was mostly because the Nuggets would play their second string guys, and those guys just weren't up to par. And I think that's going to be a reoccurring thing throughout the season, is that the Denver Nuggets don't have a bench. Christian Brown came in. Reggie Jackson played okay. He had 8 points. But I think Christian Brown had 5. But altogether, it was pretty much the starters who really carried that team, and mostly who many believe is the best player in the NBA, even though NBA rank didn't, or ESPN NBA rank didn't. Jokic finished with a triple-double. He's one triple-double away from surpassing Jason Kidd and possibly, potentially, LeBron James. And he finished with a stat line of 29, 13, 11. Really good stuff. You notice how impactful he was when he was on the court and how much they needed him when he was off the court. And that was really huge for that. Nuggets team that they're going to go forward in the season knowing that they desperately need Nikola Jokic. So that's what we're looking at right now. The Lakers, LeBron James, he played 29 minutes. He's in year 21. The guy is closing in, knocking on 40's door, basically. He's 38 years old. We can't really. I'll give him his flowers. He played a pretty good game. Finished with a stat line of 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Pretty good showing for a guy in his 21st season. But it was his co-stars that really let him down. And I think that might be another reoccurring thing that we will see throughout this season, is that the Lakers, even though they are better and they'll probably win games that they didn't win last season, especially close games, are going to struggle. And I'm going to get to Anthony Davis in a few minutes. A lot of people have been harping on him about his gameplay and the tale of two halves. But I thought he played okay. And I'm still not understanding Darvin Ham and their penchant on him shooting threes. Like, I don't get it. He's not a very good three-point shooter. And he showed that again last night when he made some. So that was a positive. But he missed some. And I think that he's a guy that you desperately need inside, especially against a guy like Jokic. He was really hurting Denver early on in that first half when he was being aggressive and going to the basket. When he settled for jump shots and just settled for long twos and long threes, no. And that is going to be a big problem as we go forward for them into the season. The Lakers, I think, are going to be Lakers. And just to talk about Anthony Davis, 17 points in the first half, 0 in the second, 1 rebound in the first half. He finished with 8 rebounds. That's not top 10 in all of the NBA kind of stat line. And that's not the type of play you expect from someone that is a perennial all-star, is a guy that many believe is one of the best in the league. You can't be the best in the league and go scoreless in the second half. That just can't happen. Basically, that's not how a all-star or a top 10 NBA player. Imagine Giannis going scoreless in the second half. Imagine LeBron going scoreless in the second half. Imagine Steph going scoreless in the second half. That's just ridiculous. You just don't see that happen much when it comes to your top stars. Let me take a sip of water. Not water, Dr. Pepper. But anyway, so just witnessing that last night, and people really harping on it. You don't know if that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be the norm. Obviously not. Anthony Davis he's an all-star caliber player. I won't say he's an all-star flat out, but he could be an all-star. He should be an all-star. We've seen him be an all-star. But we're going to have to see him put together complete games, and that's the key. If they're going to go far, and many people are speculating that the Lakers will go far, I even put them as a contender. See plug in my video for contenders and pretenders as far as out west, but he's got to be consistent. And LeBron, if they're going to restrict LeBron this season, they're definitely going to need AD to play at AD's level. But there's some caveats that a lot of sports media and people are not talking about that's the fact that the Lakers didn't get a lot from Rui Hachimura, who was one of their breakout stars in the definitely in the playoffs, but even the second half of last season after the trade deadline when he came over to the Lakers, he became a big deal. He got his contract, and now he is a full-time Laker. He's going to be a Laker for the next few years. He didn't show up. He ended up with 6 points, 3 for 10. A guy that was near perfect in one of the playoff games. I forget which one. I'm not sure if it was against the Warriors or the Grizzlies, what have you. But I recall him nearly being flawless in one of the games. 3 and 10. That's not great. Not for a guy that, did get a decent contract, and I'm sure they were banking on him being a big time role player for that team, and a big time having a big, having some biggest success and helping that team a lot, which last night he didn't do. Austin Reeves finished with 14 points. He was 4 of 11. Not bad, but not great. This is a guy that there might be their third option. Those are not third option numbers, really. Those are pedestrian numbers. They're not great numbers by any means or stretch of the imagination. So there you go. The Lakers did get some good minutes from Taurean Prince, who is a new member of the Lakers. Jackson Hayes, he wasn't that great. Cam Reddish played decent. For what you're getting out of Cam, who hasn't really been that great throughout, his tenure in the NBA, you got some decent numbers out of him. But Taurean Prince finished with 18 points. He was really a huge help early on, especially in the first half, to keep them in striking distance, and he was even a big help throughout the duration of the game. But then you go and look at the Nuggets, which Jamal Murray finished with 21. KCP played great with 20 points. So once again, I feel like the narrative always falls back to LeBron James and the Lakers, even though the Nuggets on ring night were just as dominant as they were before they even got the ring, when they swept the Lakers. So we need to give them some kind of something. We just kind of gloss over this win, and focal point is always on LeBron and his teammates and what the Lakers are doing, when it should be that the Nuggets are a really good team. Now, like I said, they're lacking a lot on their bench this year. They don't have a Bruce Brown. They don't have a Jeff Green to kind of anchor that second unit. But as long as they can stay within themselves and not get too far behind, or not let their leads slip so far that they're discombobulated, they're going to be fine. They're going to be a great team, as they've been all last season, as they've been the years before, where they just haven't been complete with Jamal Murray and with everyone. Now they're complete, and I think that we've kind of overlooked and glossed over what the Denver Nuggets are and who they are and what they can do. They're champions. They may even be two-time champions by the end of this season. We need to put some respect on them. So I'm putting some respect on Denver's name. They played great. The Lakers played okay. I don't think this is truly an anomaly for them, but I don't think this is too far off of what we will see this season. I think they're going to be solid. They're probably going to be in the top 4 or 5 in the West, out West. But do I see them as a championship team? A lot's going to have to change. Or they're going to have to really do a 180 like they did last season during the second half, where they, catapulted into that number 7 spot and really played their best basketball throughout the playoffs, but they're gonna have to do it in a quick manner. And I think that bringing back a lot of those names and hoping those guys flesh out like they pretty much did throughout the playoffs. That's a gamble, but the Lakers are willing to take that gamble. You can't assume that these players are going to make that leap. You can't assume these players are going to gel just as well as they did throughout, the playoffs. A lot of these guys are playing for contracts. They got them. So now it may be a little different. It may not be as easy for them to get by some of these other teams that have been together for a little while. So, not too much. I'm not too concerned with the Lakers. I'm not too concerned with the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are going to be good. They showed it last night. It's going to be a tough team to beat. The Lakers, they'll be a team that can contend. They can play with these teams, but they may struggle because of their lack of a solid, I would say, first option. Even though LeBron's still there, is he truly the first option? He looked, I'm going to be honest, LeBron looked a little slow last night. If you watch the game, he did. Even though he's still strong, he's still able to beast himself to the basket, he looked a little bit sluggish. He didn't look as good. His defense is still iffy. So, I guess we'll see for the Lakers. As far as the second game, on opening night, we saw the Phoenix Suns defeat the Golden State Warriors. We saw the debut of Chris Paul, CP3 as a Warrior. Not bad numbers for him, pretty much comparable to last season where he finished pretty much with 14-9, 14 points, 9 assists. He started, they set him down pretty quick, but he played some with the second unit, and he's been solid. I think that he'll help the second unit, which really needs some help as far as the Warriors go. They're going to definitely need Chris Paul to be someone that they could trust in that backup lineup. With the second stringers. Steph finished with 27, played 15 points, wasn't great. He was off, and this is a guy who's holding out on another big contract, so he's going to definitely have to improve his game from last night to actually have any kind of leverage to try to test free agency in a way where he will get what I guess he thinks he's worth. On the other side, the Suns, they won, but KD, 7 of 22, 18 points, not good for a guy that is in the top 10 also, much like KD, didn't show up, had a tough time last night, which, okay, it's game one, so we can kind of look back that Booker played very well. He ended up with, he kind of played their de facto point guard. I thought, okay, that was, he was solid in that role. 32 points, 8 assists. So he kind of ran the offense. It was kind of whatever I want to do, I'm going to do it. If I want to pass it, if I want to get inside and score, that's what I'm going to do. So, in the end, it was pretty solid night for him. Nurkic also chipped in 14 and 14. Of course, the new acquisition, he came from Portland. They helped facilitate that trade for Dame Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. So, I figured he would be somewhat of an upgrade from DeAndre Ayton, who I felt like he wanted to be the man for for Phoenix, and he kept getting pushed back further and further and further. He was the number one pick. Of course, he feels like he should be one of the main options. He's started to fall on the depth chart a little bit, and I guess he wanted out, and he got his wish. And now we'll see how that pays off as he's in Portland. Nurkic played well, and Phoenix, I think, should have really won this game. Both teams missing a starter, Draymond out, Bradley Beal out this game, so both were missing key pieces. But I just thought Phoenix had a little more firepower and a little more depth than the Golden State Warriors, who are sorely missing height. But it was a pretty dip-tuck game. Of course, in the end, the Phoenix Suns were victorious. I don't think that KD will go for 7 of 22 every night. I don't think that I don't think that he'll struggle as much, especially once Bradley Beal's on the court with them. They play the Lakers this Friday, not tomorrow, but Friday, this Wednesday. So yeah, they'll play the Lakers on Friday on ESPN. Should be an interesting game. I guess we'll see if Bradley Beal plays. If he's healthy, that could be an interesting matchup, and I think that'll be telling. If the Lakers go down 0-2, I think there's gonna be a lot of chatter, especially if AD has another rough game like he did the night before. So, opening of the season has been pretty good so far. I'm enjoying the NBA so far. We had a pretty good game between the Celtics and the Knicks tonight. My only gripe is there's a lot of three-point shots and guys just pulling up, and it's sometimes hard to watch. You'd like to see the ball movement, you'd like to see the ball working down low, but once again, it's just a lot of standing at the three-point line and chucking up three-point shots. But that's the nature of the beast right now as far as the NBA goes. So let's transition to the short of the week. This is going to be a pretty short podcast this week. I do have one in the vault that I did not get to post last week, which highlighted the weird beef between Marcellus Wiley and Stephen A. Smith, James Harden's whatever's going on with him, and short of the week for that. If y'all want to see it, let me know in the comment section. And once again, if you're watching this on live or if you're watching this on GoatCast Sports, please subscribe to the secondary channel, which is the GoatCast, which you see right there at GoatCast Podcast YT. That's my purely podcast channel where all the podcasts will go. So if you want to check those out every Wednesday, please go over there and check that out. So, if you're watching it here, thank you. I would love if you would subscribe to that channel and help that channel out, as I will be posting more and more podcasts on there. Plenty of them coming up every Wednesday if I can, hopefully. Last week I was out of the state. I was in Costa Rica, so couldn't podcast and didn't have time to get it together to drop it, but I do have it in the vault if you guys want to hear that podcast. I didn't get a chance to doctor it up, which I would always like to kind of doctor them up, put a few clips in there and some things to make it a little more visually stunning than looking at me. So haven't got a chance to do that, edit it, all those things, but hopefully I will get a chance to do that. If you guys want to see it, like I said, let me know in the comment section. Anyway, we're going to go to my short of the week, and then we're going to wrap this up. The short of the week was for Steph Curry, and I titled it "Is Steph Curry creeping into the GOAT conversation?" And it got a lot of views. It got a lot of feedback. Some people are saying no. Some people are saying, yeah, he's ahead of LeBron. A lot of people are saying, no, he's not quite there. But hear me out. Steph Curry is a 4-time NBA champion. So he has the same amount of NBA championships as LeBron James. I mean, LeBron's in the GOAT conversation. Has the same amount of rings. Let's look at some other attributes. He's a 2-time NBA MVP. And of course, LeBron has, I believe, 3. Can't remember off the top of my head, but LeBron is another multi-time MVP recipient. Okay, Steph Curry, he does have accolades. He has the most career threes of anybody in the NBA. That's a big time deal, especially now in the day and age of the 3-point shot. He's been able to do it at a very, very high clip. Then you listen to his career stats. He's at 24.6 points per game, 6.5 assist guy, 4.7 rebound for a point guard, quotations point guard. In the playoffs, he's 27 points a game, 6.2 assists, 5.3 boards. He's 6'3", maybe 6'2". Not the biggest point guard we've ever seen, and he's got some height to him. He's lanky, but he is not. He's not the guy. And some people want to call him the greatest point guard of all time. I can't do that, so I don't know if in my mind that kind of excludes him from the GOAT conversation or putting him in there. So I can't put him at the top of his position. I just can't. I can put him at the top of the point guard position just because he plays that position, but I cannot make him the greatest point guard based on the definition of what a point guard is. And he doesn't exemplify what a point guard is. I feel like Magic Johnson does that, or did that. And for that reason, I just can't put him atop of, the point guard position. Greatest of all time there. So if I can't do that, can I put him in the GOAT conversation as far as the greatest NBA player of all time? And I feel like not right now. He's not there yet. And a lot of people said, well, if he gets one more, then he definitely should join that conversation, or he's definitely going to be in that mix of guys. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I do think his resume really says that he is a guy that is on a trajectory towards, truthfully, he's on a trajectory towards being in the GOAT conversation. Steph Curry is that good. I mean, you can't deny that. The guy has 4 rings. The guy has a unanimous MVP. He was part of a team that had the best regular season record of all time. Of course, they fizzled out in the NBA finals. That does kind of, you got to account for that. But at the end of the day, is Steph Curry in the NBA GOAT debate? No, not yet. But I think that we need to, if we're going to elevate guys like LeBron, even guys like Kobe, we've got to look at Steph and his accolades, the things he's been able to do with the team he's been able to do it with. Yes, they were a stacked team. They did it through the draft, and then they got even better when KD decided he was going to come along for the ride. But I don't think you should always hold that against certain players. They can't help who they play with. I mean, that's just the nature of it. LeBron, Michael Jordan couldn't help that he played with Scottie Pippen. But he benefited from playing with Scottie Pippen. There's no question about that. Magic Johnson benefited from playing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and vice versa. You can't take that away from him. Larry Bird benefited from playing with Kevin McHale and those guys, Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, those guys. So, and the list can go on. Isaiah Thomas. Dwayne Wade benefited from playing with Shaq. Shaq benefited from playing with Kobe. And Kobe benefited from playing with Shaq. So, all greats played with somebody that were beneficial to their game. That's just the nature of a team sport. But at the end of the day, individual greatness can be measured. You can measure that with stats. You can measure that with championships. You can measure that with accolades and awards. And Steph fits all of those, checks all those boxes. He really does. And can we take that away from him? No, he earned everything. Nothing was given to him. So, do I think he needs one more championship? Yeah, I think he needs or something, or one more MVP, one more something that can kind of drive home that, yes, this guy has been a force in the league for a stretch instead of just for, their dynastic run in the mid 2010s. And even, now we have, that they won in 2022. Sorry, I'm looking up. I'm watching the Mavericks versus Spurs, Victor Wembanyama's debut. So I'm trying to check that out as well while I'm also streaming and doing the podcast. But anyway, Steph, I believe, he's on the cusp, and I think that he's a guy like Giannis and a guy like even Shaq, who we can kind of put on the cusp of being in the GOAT debate, but doesn't quite have all the criteria there to really make their case fully. I think Steph still has a chance to do that, where the others maybe not. So, anyways, we're going to get out of here, guys. We're going to finish up this episode of GOATcast Podcast. Please check out the other channel at GOATcast Podcast YT. You see it over there beside the YouTube logo. Also, if you want to check me out on TikTok, GOATcast Podcast. A lot of stuff I post on YouTube will also go on TikTok. I will try to do some TikTok exclusives. But everything's going to go on YouTube as well. How are you guys feeling about the current NBA season? Are you enjoying opening night stuff, the opening week stuff? I know tomorrow we have Giannis versus Embiid, and also Phoenix and Lakers. That's going to be another really, really good game. I think this will be a true test for the Lakers and where they're at. So hopefully we get some good games tomorrow. And watching Wembanyama and crew play pretty well. The Spurs are looking pretty good. Victor's looking okay. First night jitters. So, for the man some slack. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and end this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please check out both channels, GOATcast Sports. Right now we have Clash of the Titans, another video of that. This week it's Michaeljordan versus Kawhi Leonard. I think that's a pretty good matchup. Let me know who you guys think would win that. And also check out the podcast that you're listening to now on GOATcast Podcast YT. So anyways, guys, I appreciate all of your support, and hopefully we can just continue to support and continue to do great things. And I appreciate you guys viewing. So GOATcast Podcast is out. I will see you guys next Wednesday.